Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. And we've got a QSP for you today. This is the QSP Folding Canary. A year and a half ago or so, well actually no, it's the 2nd of March when I'm recording this, last June. Oh, in June it'll be 2 years. Whoops, 2 years that I did a video of the original Canary fixed blade. A little bit smaller than this, but the same basic design as a fixed blade. And it did well enough that now they made a folding version, and they've also got a larger version of the fixed blade variety. But we're going to look at this one today. It comes in, I don't know, 10 different colors with G10 handle scales, or you can get the ULTEM black wash or stone wash blade, 14C 28N stainless steel, under 3 inches, and I'm going to tell you all about it. I could do a teardown. I'll talk about the ULTEM, what my take on it is. I have not been listening to most other people's takes on it. I've heard a little bit. I know that there's hype all about it. So we'll talk a little bit about the ULTEM. By the way, if you watched my previous video, the Sanren Mu 325S, it's still in pieces in my little magnetic tray here. But as one viewer said on the AliExpress website, they got these D shackles, huge ones, on some of the pictures there. I found some small shackles on AliExpress that should just fit, so it's not going to be big and anything on there. And then on that shackle you could put a classic keychain ring. Anyhow, we want to talk mostly about this guy today, so come on down to the tabletop and let's take a good close look. ULTEM. It's okay. Technically, as a material, it's excellent. It's a very good material. It's strong, it's durable, it's highly chemical resistant. It's a great material. Comes in this color and darker into dark brown. There are versions of this that are even better than classic ULTEM. You can get versions with different amounts of fiberglass in them, which makes them even stronger and more durable. But as a material on pocket knives, it's 99% hype, in my opinion. The stuff's been out since the 1980s. How long have you been out? I came out in the 60s, late 60s, but I came out in the 60s. And I do get better with age, but it's not a new material. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not something that just came on the market and is this super awesome that modern 21st century science came up with. No, it was designed basically in the late space age as a space age, early space age. I guess I'm too old, It's not super special in terms of 4 knife handles. G10 is way more durable than any ordinary use ODYSEE pocket knife would ever need. And if you want something that's a little grippier than G10, you get micarta. And there's really good epoxy-based materials out there. This is not epoxy-based. It's a different chemical stuff. I'm not a scientist and I'm not a chemical engineer, so I'm not going to go any more into it. I just think it's 99% hype. But I wanted to get one just to show you. I bought this. I did not get this from QSP, and let's talk more about it. I don't have the original Canary. I have to sell almost all the knives I get so that I can afford to buy more knives. I do get the odd knife given to me by different knife vendors. Recently, it's basically just been CJRB that's been sending me stuff, though. So we'll see. Maybe QSP will send me something else soon because they have sent me stuff in the past. But this I bought. It looks a lot like the original Canary, but a little bit bigger. The blade's a little bit more of a blade. I don't know, is that about ½ an inch more? It's just a little bit bigger. We've got a swedge here, drop point, lots of belly, bit of a straight edge. Sort of a sharpness choil. It sort of comes back into the tang of the blade here, so it doesn't have a half circle there, but it's like a sharpener's choil there. We've got no jimping on the spine. I would really like some jimping on the spine of this thing. We've got thumb studs. They are removable. They're T6s right there. Where's my drivers? Here's a T6 driver that I got handy. Yeah, it's a little bit loose in there. And these screws back here are T6 as well. The body screws, they fit much snugger. That's much better. That might actually be a T6. No, that's just too snug to be a T7. But yeah, so you can remove that. 2 screwdrivers. You can remove the thumb stud and replace it with something else if you want to. But these thumb studs are good. Lots of clearance to get at the thumb stud this way to deploy the blade. Even the left side, even with the pocket clip in the way, works just fine. So if you're left-handed and you want this, this has good access on the left side, even though it's a bigger cutaway here on the right side. We've got pocket clip goes on both sides, and they put a nice steel spacer on there. That's a little bit polished stainless steel right there. Like I said, T6 screws, deep carry clip, and yeah, they're T6 button screws. And you've heard me say this lots of times. I don't like T6 button screws, but my experience with QSP is they use high quality screws here. They rarely strip out. I haven't had them strip out on me ever. We've got a classic handle here. It's flat in the back, a little bit of a belly here for grip, and then it expands here and here. Comfortable in hand. It's sort of chamfered on the edge. We've got recessed liners in there, so you got the ULTEM on the surface here, which helps it, you know, a little bit wider. Pretty good. Not terribly thick in the handle. Open pillar construction, so we've got 2 posts back here. And of course the pivot post, that keeps it stable. You've seen the holes in it, just like the original Canary has holes in it. The large one has 4 holes in it as well. We got a hole here for a lanyard. If you want to tie a lanyard off, the placement for that is quite good. And there's nothing sharp on this handle. There's nothing annoying on this handle. I like it quite a lot. Lockup and everything, well, deployment's good. I already showed you that, and we'll take it apart later on in the video. But lockup there, very good. Solid engagement, lots of room to wear if you need to. Good access to the lock release there. If you want to push on there, that works quite well. The bumps on the top work really well. And it also gives a little bit extra grip when you're holding the knife, when you're using it. So that's well done. And yeah, alignment when it's closed, very good. Right down there. Balance point is right over, you know, that release, not, well, a little bit forward of the front hole. I wish it was a little bit further, but that's not bad at all. And that's about it. The badging, well, you say QSP here on the pin, and that's it there. Where's the blade steel? I was looking at it when I did the unboxing. I couldn't find anything on where's. I thought QSP always wrote down the blade steel. Closed it. Still nothing. I should be able to see something about the blade steel when it's closed or open. No, you can't. You can see it when it's halfway open. It's written right up there. 14C 28N. It's a good budget steel, which I like quite a lot. And comfortable. I like a sub 3-inch knife. I'm very happy with that. And this one does quite well. You know, other than, you know, I'd like that jimping, but putting your thumb up here and you get a good solid grip. My hands are just barely extra large, and I can get a full 4-finger grip, just barely. And so it's in that sweet spot. You know, do I like big knives? Yeah, I like big knives, but I like smaller knives as well. Sometimes you just want something that's a little bit more discreet. And the other big advantage of this is you can get it in any color you want. Well, not any color. It comes in like, what did I say, 10 colors or so. I really like stonewash, and if you have to get a coated blade, I like blackwash. So it's got some of the best options for me that I like out there. How well does it cut? It cuts and pierces okay. Mine didn't come as sharp as I'd like it to be. I'll talk about the grind angles and everything later on, but it's nice and thin at the edge, and I'm very familiar with 14C 28N, and with QSP's heat treatment and stuff, they do a great job with it. This will sharpen up just wonderfully. It'll turn into a really nice cutting knife. The The grind angles are great, but it just didn't get a nice super edge from the factory. Piercing, it's okay-ish. You know, it's not a designed for piercing, but look at that. It's almost like a spear point tip, you know, with a bit of a swedge on it. So yeah, it's decent for piercing, good for slicing, and decent for cutting. And I'm totally happy with that. Pocket clip. How well does it go in and out of a pocket? Well, I've shown this a number of times. And QSP's pocket clips, you know, they end up in a ramp and they don't come flat on the top. But I've been very happy with QSP's pocket clips. They're comfortable in hand, even though some people think it might not be due to that rise there, but they just are. There you go. It's a decent deep carry clip. Let's tear this thing apart and show you how it's constructed. Very straightforward how it's constructed, just like you would expect any liner lock to be. Ceramic detent ball. We've got ceramic ball bearings in a black nylon cage. And how many are there? Let's do 4, 8, 9, 10. Standard in the industry for budget knives in this price range is still 9. And so 10 ball bearings is better. Let me double check that. 3, 6, yep, 10. 10 ball bearings. There's no thread locker on the screws. And the screws are quite nice. And they hold on quite well. Happy enough with those. The pivot pin, especially happy. It's a D-shaped pin right there. Let's take that screw out. You can see it right there. That's a D-shaped pin. Let's take it out. So D-shaped hole, not free spinning. Pretty good for a budget knife. There's your stop pin and your body pins back there. Simple, straightforward construction. There is some noise from my furnace in the background. We're in probably hopefully our last cold spell of the year. It's like minus 20 degrees Celsius out there. I'll put the Fahrenheit on the screen for you. Not much wind at all, so wind chill would make it a little bit colder, but not much. And hopefully it doesn't get windy. So it's just lots of snow coming down. Thankfully it's light enough that I can just use my leaf blower to take care of most of that snow. And that way I don't have to shovel, and because that's really hard for some of us. If shoveling's easy for you, great. Anyhow, I put the knife back together again. I put some Gunny Glide onto the ball bearings. It's even smoother now than using the factory lubrication. Really, really happy with it. By the way, no blade play on this lockup either. Let's do the measurements now, those kind of specs. I weighed this myself. I did all the specs, measurements, everything in-house here at Canadian Cutting Edge because I don't trust websites, any of them. I like to double check things. Weight, 70 grams, 2.47 ounces. Not bad for an almost 3-inch knife. Factory sharpness, on my best tester, 250 best is the average score I got on there. That's not good enough, but it's not terrible. It's just not good enough. And thankfully I already talked about how it can be sharpened really, really well. And if you can't sharpen it, hopefully you can find somebody who can sharpen it for you. Cutting edge length, so between my nails there, 70.3 millimeters, 2.77 inches. Tip of the blade to the closest spot on the handle scales, 72.7 millimeters, 2.86 inches. So yeah, well under 3 inches without being super small. The blade thickness, so here on the flat at the ricasso, 2.91 millimeters, which is 0.1145 of an inch. So not quite 1/8 of an inch, but getting close. Blade depth, it's widest right about where my fingertips are, 24.6 millimeters, 0.968 of an inch. How thick is it behind the grind? The average score along the length is 0.41 millimeters or 16,000ths of an inch thin. I like that. That's ideal for a knife like this. The grind angles. The average grind angle on this side is 20.7 degrees. On this side, the average is 22.1 degrees. Started at 22.2, ended at 22. That's 0.2 degrees of change. This side started at 20.8, ended at 20.6. Again, 0.2 degrees of change. Whoever's sharpening this knife did a very consistent job of sharpening it. This kind of EDC knife with this steel, I'd almost always sharpen this at 18 degrees per side myself. The handle length, That is 94.9 millimeters, 3.74 inches, so 3¾ inches. The grip area, it's more like 8.5 centimeters, 85 millimeters, roughly 3⅓ inches, something like that. I know a third isn't standard fraction for inches. Deal with it. You can figure it out. Handle thickness. Handle thickness here, 10.6 millimeters, 0.42 of an inch. Not bad. Handle depth within the grip area. I know it's wider right here, but within the main grip area, the widest 0.25 millimeters, 0.98 of an inch. And when the knife is closed, the widest spot is right up here just before this drop point starts. 29.5 millimeters, 1.16 inches. And the total length, I've rounded it to 168 millimeters, rounded the number. That's about 6.61 inches. So it is a small knife, but I like it. I like it. It's not a tiny knife. It's just small. And I like it a lot. This is a great design and very good execution of the design. And at the price range, what is the price range? For the G10 versions, $42.95 US at White Mountain Knives. Most other stores the same thing. But at White Mountain Knives, you save 10% with coupon code CCE, and that makes it $37.76 for the G10 version American. That's about $57 Canadian, and thankfully at Blades Canada, you can get it for $57, $56.99 Canadian. So if you're in Canada, go straight to Blades Canada. That's the cheapest spot I found in Canada to get the G10 version. This version with the Stonewash, the ULTEM, it's sold out at Blades Canada, but at $85. White Mountain Knives, $63.75. After your 10% saving, it's $53.38 for the ULTEM. So there's a bit of a premium for this ULTEM, and I'm sure knife companies are making some extra money out of that. So that's a good thing. And, well, good for them. Anybody who makes money in this economy is doing well, and I'm happy for them. So I'm not going to buy another knife with ULTEM, I don't think. Chances are extremely low that I'll buy any more, and I'll probably sell this one and buy one with G10. Probably the natural G10, and I'll dye it myself and, you know, have my own semi-customized little knife. By the way, I never mentioned this is a full flat grind. You have a little bit of a flat area here that I was able to clamp on to get it nice and stable so I could do my edge measurements, and for sharpening later on it'll, you know, clamp on just fine. And like I said, if you want to, you can take off those thumb studs, and then you've got a bigger flat area to clamp against if you want to, and that's a good thing. I'm quite happy with that. This is a decent knife. There's a tiny bit of skeletonizing on this one liner on this side, just for those 4 holes. Wish there was just a little bit more skeletonizing. Maybe 1 hole on the back side would have been helpful, just to give that balance point a little closer to that pivot pin, which is where I like it. I like it right near that pivot pin. It's nice. The texture that they put on this ULTEM, or had, you know, cast into this ULTEM, is good. Edges. QSP tends to make some pretty good knives, and the G10 version of this is just a smoking deal, in my opinion, for what you get. So if you're in the market for a smaller EDC sort of utility kind of knife, this is a good choice. I like how this thing looks, feels, handles, workmanship, basic materials. Blade steel is good. Love Stonewash finish. It's my favorite finish. The only thing I'd really change on it is I wish there was some jimping up here. That would make it that much nicer. Thank you, QSP, for making a nice knife. And thank you to my supporters, your funding, and those of you who watch the channel, especially those of you who let the commercials play. I only let the video interrupt once with commercials. That helps me earn a little bit of income so I can afford to buy these. And I appreciate, you know, everyone who helps out the channel, either with direct support or, you know, allowing those advertisements to play, because it really does make a difference. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum.